Shocking Lakers highlights impressed JJ Redick before training camp. Hey guys, this is Guilherme from LA Lakers TV, and today I have a bombshell. There is a player on the Lakers who is leaving JJ Redick speechless, and this is before training camp even starts. Want to know who they are and how this could change the course of the season? Don't leave, because what I'm about to reveal might surprise you. And let's get to today's news, but first just make sure you're already subscribed to the channel, because the next videos will be a series of content that will help you stay informed about everything related to the Lakers. Turn on the notification bell and select the All option. After that, we'll send you everything breaking that comes out behind the scenes of the Lakers. Lakers fans, we have a goal of 50 likes to beat on this video. In the last video, we beat the goal in less than an hour. Prove that you are a diehard Lakers fan and leave a like so we can beat this goal soon. It's a pleasure to have you back. During the offseason, it's natural for every team to pin their hopes on young talent, hoping that they'll take that much-needed step forward. This is especially true for teams in rebuilding mode, but make no mistake, even teams that are in contention for the top have youth in their ranks. A good example is the Lakers, who, despite common perception, have an average age on the team of just 25. This average age puts the Lakers in a younger position than some teams that are going through a complete rebuild, which may surprise many. This impression that the Lakers are an old team comes mainly from names like LeBron James and Anthony Davis. However, it's important to remember that Anthony Davis, for example, is only 31 years old, which is far from being considered old in the context of the NBA. Speaking of youth, the Lakers' recent picks in the NBA draft, bringing in Dalton Knecht and Bronny James, further rejuvenate the team. They now have 5 players who are 23 or younger, in addition to Jackson Has, who is only 24. With this renewal, the development of these young players becomes crucial, especially for those who have not yet managed to establish themselves in the team's main rotation. In the case of Bronny, I believe it will be a few years before we can see him as a central piece in the rotation. On the other hand, 2023 draft picks Jalen Hood-Schifino and Maxwell Lewis are in a more delicate position. At only 21 and 22 years old, respectively, they need to show rapid improvement, as the NBA is a league that does not wait. After spending much of last season in the G League, now is the time for them to prove that they are ready to take the next step. Recent news, as pointed out by Dan Wokey of the LA Times, indicates that Hood-Schifino and Lewis have stood out positively during this offseason. Under new head coach JJ Redick, practices have been focused primarily on developing the younger players, which bodes well for their future with the team. I'm excited to see that things are coming together. Chino, for example, is recovering from a back injury that eventually required surgery, while Maxwell Lewis, on the other hand, underperformed during Summer League. Of course, both have a long way to go, but I believe that working closely with Coach Redick will be a big difference maker for them. This is something that I think Dervingham has been lacking. He failed to give the younger players enough attention, and as a result, many of them were left without a clear direction on what role they should play on the team. Take Max Christie, for example. Many people recognize that he had all the skills to become a regular in the Lakers' rotation last season. However, he spent much of his time as an injury deficit option, receiving more minutes in irrelevant moments of the game than in situations that really mattered. In my view, this was largely due to a lack of communication. Christie seemed lost on the court, not knowing exactly what was expected of him, which ultimately hindered his development and created an awkward dynamic between him and the coach. I understand that a coach's primary role isn't necessarily to focus on the development of young players, but I believe it's crucial that he takes the time to mentor them. At the very least, it's essential that a coach is clear about what he expects of these players and what they need to do to earn a spot in the starting rotation. Unfortunately, Darren Ham hasn't done that effectively, or at least not in the way he should have. While we can't predict the future, it seems like Redick is on the right track. He's been leading group workouts that really engage the younger players, something Dervingham has largely failed to do, preferring to work more one-on-one. That could make all the difference in the development of these players. I'm confident that the work Redick is doing will have a positive impact on the team. For players like Hood-Schifino and Maxwell Lewis, that support is crucial, as time isn't exactly on their side. Both are entering the final year of their guaranteed contracts, and while there's the possibility of a 2-year extension, that decision is entirely in the team's hands. While I believe that Schifino, as the first pick in the draft, may have a bit more room to develop, I am not so sure about Lewis. For Maxwell Lewis, the challenge is clear. He needs to show that he can continue the performance he had in the G League last year. During that season, he put up solid numbers, with almost 15 points, 5 rebounds, 1 block, and 1 steal per game, in addition to a reasonable 35.6% shooting from three-point range. However, this performance did not translate into Summer League. He started off strong, scoring 11 points by halftime in the first game, but could not maintain that rhythm. He finished with an average of 9 points, 4 rebounds, less than 1 block or steal per game, and shooting below 32% from the field and only 22% from three-point range. These numbers, unfortunately, are not enough to earn him a spot in the rotation. While I appreciate the individual defense he showed, his offensive performance left something to be desired. He struggles as a three-point shooter and has not been able to excel as a finisher, despite being a talented athlete. Additionally, his defense reading still needs to improve significantly. At just 22 years old, I know there is still room for improvement, but in the NBA, you have to be exceptional in at least one area of your game. If Maxwell Lewis wants to secure his spot, he will need to become a more consistent three-point shooter. While he showed potential in the G League, shooting 35.6% from the field, that has yet to translate to the NBA level. If he can do well in that role, he may have a chance to fill a 3-and-D role on the team. The clock is ticking, and the next few weeks will be crucial for him. He has been showing solid performances, and it is really exciting to see that progress. I would like to see him improve his defense reading and absorbing contact at the rim, but I know that may not be an immediate priority considering his role now will be relatively limited. However, his defense will be crucial. He's shown great potential, especially on the defensive side of the ball, but in the NBA, you need to be able to master both individual and team defense. One doesn't work without the other, especially if he wants to make it in the league. I believe his best chance of making it in the NBA this season comes down to defense. That's not to say he doesn't have promising offensive talent. He does. He's a solid three-point shooter, a good ball handler, an exceptional athlete around the rim, and has an incredibly quick first step. If he can integrate all of these skills, he could become a formidable offensive force. However, right now the focus should be on defense. Interestingly, I think H. Shapino might have a better shot at breaking into the rotation, maybe not right away, but there's always the possibility that something could change with the team's current defense. For example, D'Lo remains a potential trade target, and Vincent is still recovering from a long-term injury. Additionally, I believe they would prefer to keep Reese in a more scoring role than a playmaking role. With that, there could be an opportunity for him to get playing time. Of course, for that to happen, a lot of things would need to fall into place, and he would have to excel in training camp. But considering the team invested a 17th overall pick in him last summer, it's clear they won't give up on him easily. He will have every opportunity to prove himself, and I'm confident he'll do his best to take advantage of that opportunity. So, what exactly does H. Shapino need to show? If you ask me, the key for him will be his ability to create plays and hit three-point shots. During his rookie year, the pace of the NBA seemed a little too fast for him, which is normal for rookies. Now, with a year under his belt, the team hopes he'll be calmer on the court, make more accurate offensive reads, and become a more consistent three-point shooter. They have confidence he can reach that level. To give you an idea, he had a very good season in the G League last year, averaging 22 points, 5.3 assists, and an impressive 43.2% three-point shooting on over 5 attempts per game. Those are excellent numbers, and if he can bring some of that to training camp and eventually to NBA games, he will likely earn his place in the rotation. Maybe not right away, but if he keeps playing like this, it won't be long. Now, I want to hear your thoughts on Jay and Hino and Maxwell Lewis entering training camp. What do you expect to see from them next year? Let me know in the comments below. Before we wrap up, I wanted to answer some of the questions you guys left in the previous video. As I mentioned, I wanted to do a QA in future videos, and we'll start with that now. The first question comes from Romeo Rahim 8354. I hope I pronounced his name correctly. He asked, what do you think about the Lakers signing Luka Donic after LeBron retires? Well, from a contractual standpoint, it might make sense, since LeBron will likely retire when he exercises his player option next season, and Luka Donic will have the option to opt out of his contract as well. In that scenario, the Lakers could try to bring him in to replace LeBron. But honestly, I don't think that's likely. We can dream, but I don't think that's a realistic scenario, and it probably won't be feasible via trade. Plus, I don't see Doncic leaving Dallas unless things really go south there. Now on to the second question, which is more NBA-focused, submitted by Logo TV 7840. Do the Spurs have a shot at being a playoff or at least play-in team next season? This is an interesting question, and honestly, the answer really depends on one's perspective. I do believe the Spurs have the potential to be competitive, especially with some veteran additions like Chris Paul and Harrison Barnes. These experienced pieces, along with Victor Wembanyama, who will likely take on a leadership role next season, could make a big difference. Additionally, the team has a promising young core, which gives them a good chance of fighting for a spot in the playoffs, or at least the play-in tournament. That said, it's worth remembering that the Western Conference is extremely competitive. We're talking about teams like the Lakers, who despite being very good, could still end up in the play-in tournament, and other powerhouses like Denver, Oklahoma City, and Minnesota. This makes the Spurs' path to success quite challenging. However, I don't think we can completely rule out the Spurs' chances. They have an interesting combination of young talent and experience, and they also have Greg Popovich, who is an excellent coach. Much of their success will depend on Wembanyama's performance, especially if he can break through and compete for MVP awards or establish himself as one of the best players in the league. Even if the Spurs don't make the playoffs, one thing is for sure: they will be a fun team to watch. CP3's assists for Wembanyama alone promise to be a spectacle, so either way, this team will be worth watching next season. Reflecting on all of this, what I see is that both the Lakers and the Spurs are in crucial transitional moments. The Lakers, despite their reputation as a veteran team, are clearly trying to rejuvenate themselves, betting on young talent to secure their future. This is exciting, but it also brings challenges, especially when it comes to integrating these players into the team effectively. Their success will depend largely on how these young players, like Shapino and Maxwell Lewis, are able to adapt to the NBA and how much the coaching staff can guide and develop them. The Spurs, on the other hand, are in a unique position. With the arrival of Victor Wembanyama, who is a huge prospect, and the addition of veterans like Chris Paul and Harrison Barnes, they have an interesting combination of youth and experience. But as we all know, the Western Conference is extremely competitive, and making a playoff run will be tough. It will depend a lot on how Wembanyama adapts and how these more experienced players can help elevate the team. Ultimately, what I see is that both teams are trying to balance the present with the future. The Lakers are more focused on giving their young talent room to grow, while the Spurs seem to be trying to combine that growth with an immediate drive for results. I think it will be very interesting to watch these two teams. For the Lakers, it will be a matter of patience and building, while for the Spurs, the challenge will be to find the right balance between development and competition. Either way, I think both teams have fascinating stories to tell this season. Thank you for watching this far. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel to continue receiving the next content. Access our playlist now that will appear on the screen or in the pinned comment with all the latest news and updates from the Lakers, and stay up to date with the behind-the-scenes, highlights, last-minute controversies, transfers, everything about the Los Angeles Lakers team. Until the next video.